Taking it all the way back to the beginning of 2021, I had just finished my university studies and I took on an internship in a new city, and I moved back in with my parents to save money and to really focus down on doing the internship and figuring out what I want to do next. Now, with the internship, I didn't earn a lot of money. I earned minimum wage, and I ended up earning about $1,000 or euros a month. Luckily, I could save basically all of it just because I was living with my parents and I had the luxury of not having to pay for rent or utilities or for transportation, things like that. That was a period in my life where I was very confident financially. I felt like I was making big strides toward my financial goal, and I was really happy with the way that things were going. 6 months later, the internship ended, and it was time for me to figure out what I want to do next. Even though I was very confident financially, and that was an area of my life that I was very happy with, the internship itself did not bring me joy at all. It was a task that just wasn't aligned with myself. The internship had showed me financial security, and that was very nice, I'm not going to lie, but it also showed me what I would have to trade in the time I had to give up that I would otherwise devote with hobbies of mine or things that just fulfilled me. And it is mostly time that you trade for money. You work and trade your time at a company for a salary. During the internship, I felt like I was trading my life for money, and I didn't enjoy it. I felt like my life was passing me by. I didn't feel at peace. I didn't feel balanced or satisfied in a way. It was maybe even one of the lowest points of my life, if I may say so in a very dramatic way. I was deeply unsatisfied, and it wasn't the company or anything, it was just the job. It drained me more than it fulfilled me. So I realized that was not a sacrifice or an exchange I was willing to make. Time was too valuable for me to exchange for all the money in the world. And so I made the decision to go down the financially riskier path, to keep my time and to do with my time what I wanted to, but in exchange, I am now in a very financially risky, maybe some would even say unsmart position. Money is always enticing, and on top of that, I also had social pressures or pressures from outside for me to go down the conventional path, because that's what others knew to be safe, to be right, to be the sensible thing to do. But in my heart, I knew that I wanted to go down the path that would fulfill me most. It was something that was going to sustain me in the long run. I knew that all the money in the world wouldn't fix the lack of joy that I felt with the job that I did at the internship. I'm strapped extremely tight, and I'm basically living paycheck to paycheck in a sense. I am spending all my money on living expenses since I moved out of my parents' house and into an own apartment. But I love my day-to-day life. I love the time that I have, the time that I get to devote to things that are important to me, to things that I find a lot of joy and satisfaction and fulfillment in. Now, I would say I'm not being totally reckless here financially. I do have myself set up for in the future. I do still have my investment portfolio that I've invested in during the last 5 years or so, and I've built up a little bit there, and I'm not touching that. I'm pretending that that is not there, because that is there for me to take care of me when I'm old. And I also do have an emergency fund for emergencies. Also, the situation right now that I'm in, where I am strapped very tightly financially, is also one that I think is not going to be the end situation, if that makes sense. I'm in a sense investing a lot of time and effort into my business, which is my YouTube channel, and I am confident that sooner or later I will sort of reap the rewards of the seeds that I'm sowing right now. So I just basically need to be patient and to do my best right now. Something that I do need to be very, very careful of during these times is my spendings. We moved to a big city, and I found that the city life really influenced me in a way where there are so many shops, there are so many people who are all trying to climb the social ladder, to climb their career ladder, to earn more money, and this environment of always working and being stressed and buying shiny things did or does influence me on a day-to-day subconscious level. Even though I know that's not what I want, I'm not striving towards the same things as they are, it does still influence me. And we do have to be careful or be aware of how easily we're influenced by outside people or circumstances. So I find myself also craving coffee dates and restaurant nights and new clothes, fashionable things to kind of keep up with the environment around me. And I have to be very careful that I do not fall into that pattern or into those things that are actually not things that I want at all. When I lived back with my parents, we were in the countryside and we were just surrounded by nature, by people who were tending to their gardens, to their homes, and the attitude with which people approached life was so much more relaxed and, in a sense, down to earth, and it felt like people were more in the present moment. To be fair, the people that lived there were mostly elderly people. I don't know if age has something to do with this, I'm not sure, but it is definitely very interesting to see how the different environment can potentially influence you. I do have to cut back on a lot of things that I would love to do, especially food-wise, or just impulses that I would love to give in on. And it sucks in the moment not being able to provide yourself with the things that you would enjoy. But I know, now I need to remind myself this, that I know that these joys that I get from buying things or food is a nice one. It feels nice, but it is something that we get used to so quickly. So it's not a joy that will sustain me in the long run. And I just need to keep that in mind and keep reminding myself of that. There are, of course, also upsides to living in a city. Things that we missed were definitely cultural events like museums and theater and concerts and opera and ballet, and we have been taking advantage of that. There is always good and bad sides to everything. But I do also need to be careful, though, that I spend my money very, very intentionally. Now, of course, I would rather have an amazing evening at a ballet performance or show than to buy a new item of clothing. With my current financial situation, I've definitely been worrying about money a lot more, and that hasn't been fun at all. But I do also need to remind myself that worrying on a day-to-day basis won't magically get me more money, if that makes sense. Of course, I should be aware of the situation. I shouldn't just ignore it and hope that everything will be fine. I do need to be smart and make the right moves, but then there are also moments where we've already sown our seeds and it's just time to sit back and, I guess, be patient and wait for the process. Today I watched a video on the philosophies behind Wu Wei, or Wu Wei. I'm not sure how you say it, but basically the philosophy is about how everything is under the law of nature, and as humans we think that we are so powerful, we're so smart, we're on top of everything, and we try to force things even against nature's laws. We end up ruining what we actually want to do. Instead, we should sit back and, in a sense, do nothing or go with the laws of nature. So sow your seeds, and once you've done that, you have to sit back and wait for nature to do its thing, for the crops to grow, and when they've ripened, then it is your turn to go in and to harvest the crops. You will not make the crops go faster if you go in and sing to them and give them extra water or start petting them. You just have to let nature do its thing and be patient. And I feel like sometimes that is also the case in financial situations, or you can apply that to anything and everything. do your deeds, sow your seeds, do what is necessary, but the constant day-to-day worrying, which is what I've done or am sometimes still do, does not help the situation. It just makes the present moment suck, and you can't enjoy the day-to-day or the little things if you're constantly worrying about something that you can't really change right now. As a society, we want to climb the career ladder to make more money. It is inevitably what most of our goal is, and there's nothing inherently wrong with money, but it is something that is very tempting or can be very dangerous. But what do we want to do with that money? Most of the times we buy things that will give us that rush of joy. We buy things that buy us convenience, like taking the car instead of walking, and we buy things to buy back our time or to save time. For example, we buy bread that is ready-made because we don't have time to bake it ourselves, or we buy clothes that is ready-made because we don't have time to make our own clothes, or we buy a nanny or a daycare because we don't have time to take care of our child. But why don't we have time? We don't have time because we're spending most of our time working to earn money, with which we then again exchange for more time in a lot of cases. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Maybe you don't know how to bake bread and it doesn't interest you, or you don't know how to make your clothes and you don't want to make your clothes. That is totally fine as well. But it is just something that I've been thinking about, that we exchange our time for money that we then often again change back into time. And I thought, even though this is the norm and this is what most people do, it doesn't mean that I have to go along with that. I can save the time in the first place and not trade it in for money to then trade it in for a loaf of bread, but to spend the time making the loaf of bread myself, if that makes sense. What I want to say is that it is an option to work less and to have more time, to not exchange everything into money and then to exchange it back into ready-made things. We can go back to more simpler times where we work less and do more of the things ourselves. And I think, at least for me, I find more of a sense of fulfillment when I do things myself. When I've baked bread myself, I find so much more of a satisfaction than if I've bought it at the store, and I have so much more a sense of appreciation for the item if I know what effort and time has gone into it instead of just paying for it at the store. When we work less and have more time, we have more time to be less convenient, we have more time to do things ourselves, and we have more time to do things that actually fulfill us. Now, I'm not saying this is the right way to go. All I'm saying is that this is an option, and maybe for some people this is the option they didn't know about. For me, I definitely didn't think about this as being an option. I so much more followed what everyone else was doing. Everyone else is putting in their hours, working from morning till night to sustain a job, to sustain a certain lifestyle of a lot of purchases. But what we can also do is to cut back the time where we're working and cut back on our lavish lifestyle that I don't think brings anyone true fulfillment or true meaning or true happiness. I've personally just found that I would rather spend less time trading in my time for money that I would then again trade in for things that I could do myself in the first place, that I would actually really enjoy doing myself. I really love spending my time cooking and providing and nourishing myself and my loved ones. These are things that truly fulfill me, and these are things that I can't buy with money. I can only have with time. So to me, my time is so much more valuable, and all the money in the world cannot buy you happiness. Happiness comes with the experience of life, of what you make of it, even in the small, very, very simple things. Experience life to the fullest, and by that I don't mean to go skydiving and go traveling, but to be present and to experience all the colors of life, in a sense, to notice all the little things, to experience all of the beauty in the tiniest, littlest things. Earning money can only give us a taste in what joy or happiness might look like, but in a very small, temporary way. I hope you found this video interesting and helpful. I wanted to show you my current situation, my current philosophy when it comes to finances. It might not be something for everyone. It might only be something for a very few of you watching this video, but I wanted to show you that it is a possibility. For some, it may be more of a possibility than others, but oftentimes we just see what everyone else is doing and assume that is what we should be doing. But you can actually do almost anything you want. You don't have to do what other people are doing, and just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean that that's the right way to go. And I wanted to show you that this is also a possibility to cut down your lifestyle, risk financial security to a certain degree, and to keep your time, because time is really valuable. You can always make more money, but you cannot gain more time in your life. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.